Hey guys, I'm Amit Kumar and welcome to this video in which we are going to talk about primitive data types. This is part 2. So in our previous video, we have already discussed about blob, boolean, date, date time, decimal, double and ID. And in this video, we are going to talk about integer, long, object, string and time. Now integer. A mostly used data type, an integer is a 32-bit number that does not include a decimal point. 32-bit means in binary it is represented in 32 bits. Integer have a minimum value of minus 2147483648 and a maximum of 2147483647. That means it will accept values within this range itself. We can create an integer variable just like this. The next data type is long. Long is 64-bit integer. It also does not include any decimal point. So you can say the range of long is double the range of an integer. Long have a minimum value of minus 2 to the power of 63 and a maximum value of 2 to the power of 62. You should use this data type when you need a range of values wider than the range provided by the integer data type. We can create a long variable just like an integer variable, but make sure to use or to add this L at the end of the number that represents that this specific literal is a long literal, as the default literal in Apex is integer. Object. Now Apex supports primitive data types such as integer, user-defined custom classes, the S-object generic type, or an S-object specific type such as an account. All Apex data types inherit from object type. That means object is a type which can support any certain data type. We can cast an object that represents a more specific data type to its underlying data type. For example, we can create an object variable and assign an integer value to it, a long value, a decimal, a double, a date time, an S object or any specific type to it. And you can typecast it to that specific type. Now how we typecast, we use these parentheses and we specify the destination type to it. This is known as typecast operator, and we can certainly print the value. So if we will print both the variables over here, the value that is being printed will not differ at all. But object is certainly used in those situations where we don't know in advance what type of value is going to come, or we want a generic type over there that can support any specific data type. String. Any set of characters surrounded by a single quotes is a string. From the very beginning of the course, we are dealing with strings. Strings have no limit on the number of characters they can include. Instead, the heap size limit is used to ensure that your Apex programs don't grow too large. Strings in Apex can be null or empty and can include leading and trailing white spaces, which can be used to construct a message. All strings in Apex use the following escape sequences. Now escape sequences are used for non-graphical characters which can't be printed directly, but in case if you want them to be used in your message, you can certainly use them. Now all the escape sequences starts with a backslash leading with a character that can be an alphabet or a symbol. Now to use a backspace, we have backslash B, for carriage return backslash R, for new line feed backslash N, for tab space backslash T. Now suppose we know that strings are used in single quotes and we want to print a single quote inside single quote. Then in those situations, we use a backslash single quote. Similarly, a backslash double quotes is used to print a double quotes. Suppose you want to print backslash itself, then backslash is the escape sequence. Apex strings supports comparison operator. So unlike Java, we have comparison operators supported in Apex for strings. Well, in Java, you can use double equals to operator, but here in Apex, you can use rest of the comparison operators as well. Strings can be manipulated with several standard methods. So just like in Java, we have some standard methods in Apex as well that you can use on string variable to manipulate the value. Apex classes and triggers saved or compiled using API version 15.0 and higher produce a runtime error if you assign a string value that is too long for the field. Now you can create a string variable like this. The last data type for the discussion is time. a value that indicates a particular time. Always create time values with a system static method like we were using for date and date time variables. We can create a time instance like this. With the help of new instance method of time class, we can specify hour, minute, seconds and milliseconds as the parameter to it. In addition, two non-standard primitive data types cannot be used as variable or method types but do appear in system static method. So certainly we cannot create variables or we cannot pass them as method arguments, but we can use them as system static methods. These two non-standard primitive data types are any type. Now any type is the type itself. Don't get confused with the name. Now there is a static method known as value of. So the value of static method converts an S-object field of type any type to a standard primitive. Now any type is used within the Lightning platform database exclusively for Salesforce object fields in field history tracking tables. Now there are plenty of terms over here in this certain definition which I think would overwhelm you right now. But see, there is a certain value of method. Now this value of method is static method which converts a field of any type to a standard primitive type. Now any type is basically used on Lightning platform database and for field history tracking tables. So this is quite beyond the syllabus, but you should keep in mind that there is a non-standard type any type also available for you so that you can do the type conversion from an Salesforce object field to a primitive type. Currency. Now currency.new instance static method creates a literal for type currency, and as I told you, type currency if you are using in Apex will by default convert it into decimal type. Now this certain method is basically used for SOQL or SOSL. When we are using where clauses in these queries to query the record, there we can use this currency.new instance static method. We cannot instantiate currency in any other type of Apex. So that's pretty much of talk, and now it's time to see the things practically. So guys, here we are in our developer console. So let me just close these all tabs, right click and click on close all tabs, and let's create a program for integer value. Let's add some code to it. So I have created an integer variable and printed the value in the debug. So let's click on debug, open execute, and let's change the name of the class. So it is integer program, and let's execute. So here you can see it's printing the integer value. The next data type is long. So here you can see I have created a long variable and I have assigned a value, but this time I have not added that L to this value and still it is working. It's not showing any error. The reason is implicit type conversion. Now we are going to discuss that later down the line. Let me show you a scenario where adding that L is essential. Now to explain that, here I am back to my integer program and let me add a value over here. Now this is the maximum value an integer variable can support. So let me provide a value greater than this. So I'm just changing the last digit. I'm increasing the last digit by 1 and I'm trying to save it now. Now clearly you can see it's showing me an error, and the error is illegal integer because this value is quite beyond the range. So definitely an integer value is having a range, but if I provide this value to a long variable, let me add that thing. And now it is showing an illegal integer over here as well because this specific integer value is quite beyond the range. We know the range of long is double the range of integer, but to specify that here we need to add this L. If we won't add this L, it will treat this as an integer. Now because I have added L, and if I will try to save it, it will not show any error now because it is understanding that this value is a long and it is within the range. So this is one specific scenario where adding that L is essential. Otherwise it will treat that literal to be integer only. So now let me run this program. So here you can see the long value is printed there. And the point to be noted is that L which we have added will not be shown on the debug. The next program is for object data type. So let's create. So guys, as you can see, I have created object variable and I have specified integer, long, double and a boolean value to it. I can specify other values as well, and this object variable is supporting all of them. Here I am trying to assign an object variable which is holding an integer to a variable over here and it is showing an error, and I will remove this error right now. So how we will do that, as I told you, we use a typecast operator which is using this parenthesis and specifying the destination type over here. So I'm specifying that. And now if I will save it, the error will be gone because this object is now typecasted to an integer. So definitely object can support any type and object can be typecasted to any specific destination type. I have printed all the values over here and let's see the output. So you can see it's printing all the values over here correctly. Now the next data type to discuss is string. So here you can see I have created a string variable, assigned a sample string to it and printed it in the debug. I have told you that we can use some standard methods. So here I am trying to print the string length as well. So there is a standard method of length. So I can call this length method on any string and that will tell me the number of characters in the string. And other than this, there are plenty of other methods in the string. That's something to be discussed in detail, but right now we are not going to discuss that in this video. So let's print the output. So here you can see it is telling me that there are 23 characters and it's also printing the string over here. Now the last data type to be discussed is time data type. Now as I told you, we will use a static method which is new instance method which accepts hour, minute, second and milliseconds. So let's specify that. Let's run the program. So here you can see it's printing the value along with milliseconds and there is a Z over there. This is basically for time zones and we will study about time zone in detail, but right now we have seen how to use the time data type. So that marks the end of this video. See you soon in the next video. Till then, thank you and take care.